So the Caregiver Simulation was developed after the poverty simulation by folks at James Madison University. It was picked up by the Alabama Respite Coalition, who shared it with us, and we've been doing it for 2 years. I'm Doris Green, and I'm the director of the New York State Caregiving and Respite Coalition, and along with the New York State Office for Aging, we are tasked with developing a comprehensive lifespan respite system in New York State. And we do that through education, advocacy, trainings, and the Caregiver Simulation, which is what I would like to talk to you about today. The goal of the simulation is to raise awareness and empathy for professionals who work with caregivers and for caregivers themselves. We most recently did it at the Arch National Respite Conference, and it was the largest simulation I think that anybody's ever taken on. We had 151 participants who were acting as either caregivers or care receivers, and another 52 people volunteering who were acting in the agency role. So the Department of Human Services, banks, grocery stores, the Veterans Administration, all are represented throughout the Caregiver Simulation. Each participant has a role. So they're either a caregiver or a care receiver. We have 7 simulations that are going on throughout the entire process. Each scenario and each caregiver and care receiver have some challenges that they have to face. So some are older adults, some are children who have experienced trauma, some are people with Parkinson's, some are people with MS. So we have a variety of different disabling conditions throughout the simulation. And each scenario, or caregiver-care receiver pair, has 9 tasks that they have to get through the simulation. And that would include like paying their rent or their mortgage, getting groceries, getting respite, which is a very important thing for caregivers. And there's all sorts of different twists and turns throughout the simulation. So the idea is that people are experiencing the incredible amount of challenges that caregivers face. And then on the outside, where we have all the agencies represented, those folks are really learning what it's like to be in the shoes of caregivers, to deal with them as professionals, and showing them what the challenges are for caregivers, so that we're not working in silos, that we're actually looking at the bigger picture of all the things that caregivers go through on a regular basis. We generally do 4 15-minute sessions, which are considered a day. And on top of the 9 things that they have to accomplish, they have one specific extra thing that they have to do. So they're constantly trying to get the next thing done without having time to really think about a plan, which is what caregivers often experience. They're juggling a million different balls in the air, and sometimes something gets thrown in, like the heater goes out, or somebody becomes incontinent, or somebody steals their Social Security check. All those things could happen and throw a wrench in their plan for the day. They have the challenges of having to use a wheelchair, a walker, a cane. We use earplugs to simulate hearing loss. We use tape on the hands to simulate arthritis. And we use funny little glasses with stickers all over them to simulate low vision or vision difficulties. So amongst all the other things that they're dealing with these healthcare issues as well. It's fascinating. It's different every time we do it. And one of the biggest pieces is we do a very important debrief at the end. So we have people gather into smaller groups and talk about what they experienced and what it was like to have those kind of caregiving pressures, what it was like to serve someone who was really stressed out, and maybe different ways that we could approach them. And in the end, people walk away feeling overwhelmed. They feel enlightened. I've heard over and over how they can't believe how much caregivers go through, and oh, they never thought about that. And we've been doing the one piece where we make them switch roles at the very end. So the caregiver becomes the care receiver becomes the caregiver, and we ask the care receiver, the original care receiver, to tell the caregiver one thing that they appreciate about them. And we give them a few minutes to think about that and to do it. And Fascinatingly enough, our numbers completely turned around, so people started walking away feeling like there was joy in caregiving, and we don't want anyone ever to forget that there is joy in caregiving, and that people do feel good about what they're doing even though they feel challenged all the time. So that was a really important takeaway for me. So what I would, like to share with you today is that this simulation is available to any organization in New York State. We would love to come into businesses and talk to business owners about being flexible with their caregivers and understanding how important it is to support them and give the time and space that they need to care for their loved ones. We would love to come into any human services agencies and really help and do it right in your community so that you can really begin to raise the level of awareness about what caregivers need. If you or anyone would be interested in bringing the caregiver simulation to your community, you can reach me, Doris Green, at 585-287-6393, or reach out to me through the New York State Caregiving and Respite website, which is nyscrc.org. Thank you.
things that we thought we could take away both from those of us sitting behind each agency, knowing that these people are coming to you at their most vulnerable moments, and just giving them that grace and time and space that they might need, because we don't know what they're going through and what they're experiencing. And from the side of the caregiver and trying to navigate through our communities, it was not easy. It was very much an uphill struggle. There were some agencies that were much more warm and welcoming, other agencies that were overwhelmed and weren't quite sure exactly what agencies would be able to help us in our situation. But truly just giving that space and realizing the reality and where everybody's at in a different time and space in their life. It was a very powerful and a bit overwhelming to the sense, and we hope that we can use this for our long-term help for others.
Knowing what the client, whoever is coming to you, the customer, whatever, understands about the healthcare system. And then social work. They might need some major social work for her, for Catherine, along with the kids.
What if you can't read it right, and you're handing us over all these forms saying go back and fill it out. What do you do in that situation?
Another issue too, it could be the language barrier.
Absolutely.
Because if they don't have anybody that can speak the language, then how can they get that help that they need?